Hi, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. You've seen a lot of me in different ways.
Yeah?
Huh? I kind of want to start by just asking how you are. Like, what's the headspace are you in? Like, what's your Thursday vibe in New York City? You're from LA. It's been a lot. Well, Santa Barbara, really, actually. Yeah. Like, what's on your brain?
The energy of being back here. I lived on the East Coast for a long time. I worked here. I think you forget sometimes when you're on the West Coast what it's like to be among people who are just aspiring for their greatest selves all the time, and how infectious that is. So it's been really, like, I can't fall asleep at night because it's so energizing. But I was telling you, it's also draining because I'm so used to sitting in my little casita, doing my Zoom sessions with people, writing my book in silence. So it's a mix of things, but I feel good. I feel really loved and honored that you wanted to do this, and that I got to be the first person you did it with. Yeah, and just proud. It's really fun to watch you do the thing you've been talking about for a long time.
Thanks, Mory.
Yeah.
I totally relate. Like, I feel like we'll get into this too. Like, being drained and you know, like, doing the thing, feeling the energy, but also like being exhausted by it all.
Yeah.
So, Mory, I was thinking we'd kick off with my journey a little bit.
Okay, let's go there.
So, I think I blocked it out a little bit.
I'll
But
remind you.
yeah, exactly. I think you should remind me. Like,
Okay.
when I came to you, I think I asked like some investors or something. Like, I need a coach. I'm kind of in over my head a little bit. And I found you.
Yeah.
And what was I? Do you remember? Like,
Yeah.
What you can say?
I
What
get
was
to be totally just candid.
Yeah.
Okay. You had just taken on a big role as the president of Starface. It was your first time in a, leadership role of that level, and you were full of all of these stories that were not real about where you were limited and where you maybe weren't enough for what you were being asked to do. A lot of stories that we hear as women, a lot of stories that we hear as people of color that have been internalized and repeated to you by the way that the world interacts with you and what you meet every time you try to go meet a dream and the world shuts it down. Conditioning from childhood, things that we all go through.
So sad.
But this spark of, I want better than this. I want to go into this role and enjoy it. And really what I love about you is, and bring to the team that's given me their heart and soul and passion, like, give them all of that back and be the leader that they deserve. And let's find a roadmap to do it. And that's what we did.
I love that. Okay, so yeah, that's sad, right? And I remember a lot of crying, honestly. And I also remember a lot. So, like, I think you introduced me to my own intuition, which is crazy. So I've always felt intuitive and this and that, but I think you gave me confidence in my intuition. And I guess I'm curious about you. Have you always been like an intuitive being yourself, and like, how have you honored that or noticed it?
Yeah, I mean, intuition really has had a terrible PR campaign happen, because there was a time in our lives as a society, as humans, where we honored the oracle, we honored the intuitive, and a deep reverence. And then, in the name of whatever, science, industry, religion, it was villainized and continues to be so. And so I think that you're not alone to say that intuition isn't something you claimed, but I tell people all the time, intuition is something you do all day, every day. It's just not something we talk about enough because it's been put in this closet of woo-woo. I did 20 years of crisis management for Fortune 500 companies. I guess you would say I still do crisis management. But what I found was that crisis is the absence of trusting yourself, even if you're a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, because there's so much noise there's so much white noise that tells us that we need to externalize our wisdom, that we aren't enough, so that whatever we're hearing on the inside is wrong. And that's a lot of conditioning. It's generational, it's ancestral, and it's a lot to break through. So it's no wonder, your intuition's speaking to you all day, every day, but the white noise of your conditioning and your fear drowns it out.
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, I've been an intuitive my whole life. I'm also able to connect to energies, and I was a young child that would tell my mom things and she'd be like, what in the hell, don't say that at school. You didn't see that in your room. You
totally
didn't guess that. Yeah. And so I was taught to fear it. She was like, I don't want anyone to, first of all, you're Persian, brown kid in Keystone, Colorado, everyone's white. We're not going to now add this, you're psychic to things. So I swallowed it.
Right, we don't need that.
Just repressed it all the way down. And it was my grandmother who was deeply intuitive, and she just saw it in me, and she just kind of, I see what you're doing there, and would remind me to trust it. She would show me her own intuition. She'd show me how revered she was for it in our family. And she just, without me knowing it until after she died, was giving me this roadmap. And I channeled it into crisis management, because what would happen? I'd walk into a room, CEO, board, team, stressed out, and I'd be like, this is the answer. This is what you do. And, this is going to sound terrible, but I was always right. Because when it's not your own crisis, it's so easy to hear the answer, because I didn't have any of the fear or the conditioning, but they did. So then I had to walk them towards the answer. I gave you a really long.
That's amazing, because this is the first time we're seeing each other in human form.
It's crazy.
And I actually don't know that much about you. And so to hear that is beautiful. So thank you. And I can imagine you as a little 8-year-old girl talking about some crazy
stuff.
Yeah.
I still do.
Yes, exactly, of course. Okay, so you know what else my hairdresser said today that I totally thought about you was, I don't know if you've listened to this telepathy.
Oh, I keep hearing about the tapes or something.
Yeah, the tapes.
Yeah.
It's like opening people up to oh shit,
it's real.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe there is this sixth sense that people have been ignoring.
Yeah.
And what she said was, how come something so powerful and so real and so proven in different ways is just repressed.
Yeah.
And repressed by it's almost like they want us to be dumber with TikTok, and it's like the noise that you're saying is drowning out a more calmer version, a more intuitive version.
Oh, it's on purpose. Because if you don't trust yourself, you are going to externalize your power. You're going to hand your power over to others. It is on purpose. If you learn that your purpose is accessible to you and that you can go do it and be wealthy doing it, then you're going to stop working for other people's dreams. Yeah. You're going to go chase your own dreams. So it is a campaign to teach you not to follow that calling, not to trust yourself, so that you are a cog in the wheel and that you keep the wheel turning. It's just zombified, don't wake up.
Zombified.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah, me too.
And it's also so real. And again, I think you started to open up that thought pattern for me a little bit.
I just have to give you some credit. You were very open already. It was easy with you because, people will introduce me as an executive coach, and I keep being intuitive leadership coach because I want them to know we're going to go to weird places. Yeah. And you're one of these executives who immediately just was like, okay, I'm close your eyes, let's visualize your higher self. You're like, okay, here she is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was thinking about something else when I called on you specifically, where I was in some moment in time and I talked to some nurse practitioner who didn't know me or anything, and she was like, yeah, it's time for Lexapro. Mm-hmm. Your anxiety, let's go do it. And all of a sudden, I felt horrible in my body. And my husband, who's in the audience, John Marcus, who thinks I don't give him credit, also was like, girl, what, you were good yesterday and today you're depressed because your dog, what's happening? And so all of a sudden, and I can get like that, I know we'll talk about it, and I know Joelle feels the same way, you can feel it in your body when things are right or wrong and, you know, where you should move. And I was just like, all right, I got to talk to Mory. Because at that time, you didn't have like regular sessions, you know? And you kind of gave me a different perspective on my anxiety that I have to say somehow changed my brain waves or my thought patterns, and I don't have anxiety the same way anymore. Like, can you talk to me about how you feel about anxiety and all that?
Anxiety to me is a very small, young version of us that is trapped in whatever story that happened in the moment that that younger version was brilliant enough to devise the strategy to help us survive. So fear and anxiety, think about it like, I tell people, like, imagine on the left side of your body a classroom full of little kids, 5 years old, 6 years old, 10 years old, all having these life experiences that they can't control, right? Mom and dad got divorced, or this is how it feels at home, or my teacher doesn't understand me, or my friends, I don't have friends, whatever it is. So you start to build stories in that little mind of yours about what you can control. If only I show up this way, if only I please this person, if only I'm more palatable, if only I think about this a lot. Now, of course, anxiety is also chemical, and there's, you know, there's things that need to be treated for sure.
Of course.
But it starts from this trauma response to just existing in a world you can't control. And I think the work that we did was about getting you to go sit with that kid and just listen. Like, what is it that you're trying to get my attention about? That's why you keep this rote thought going on in my head over and over again. So what is it? And then what do you need? And it's usually safety, belonging, or dignity in this situation. Those are our psychological needs as people. And so when you can look at that kid and give that kid that attention that was not given, even despite the best intentions of our caregivers, then that white noise that they create to try to keep you safe and alive just kind of goes down. And the minute, I promise, that the white noise goes down, the intuition goes up. You can hear it better. And so that becomes the antidote, because your higher self, the version of you that's in full value, dignity, intuitive wisdom, is louder, and you can embody that self. And, you know, practice makes perfect. So it's really about introducing these two sides to each other.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But it works.
It worked. Yeah. And you also, I think you told me, like, yeah, you're right. Now that you're saying it like that, about like turning one dial down and one dial up, I think I remember you telling me, like, your higher self, like who you are at your most calm, your most chill, is like knows your worth, knows what you want to do. Like, there's this confidence, this quiet confidence, not this bravado confidence, but there's something there. And I couldn't hear it from the, like, I'm someone who really wants people to like me, or wants, you know, not to feel XYZ. And like, when I turned all that down, like, it did get louder. For sure. Yeah. So is this what your book's about? I haven't read it yet.
I know. Yes, my book's called Higher Self, and it's about reclaiming your intuition as your superpower. I think it's written for the people on the outskirts. I think it's written for, you know, the ones who feel, I mean, it's written for everyone, but not really seen, understood in their power, given permission by the society we live in. As a reminder, like, look, you are a divine being at your core. You are full of dignity and power and deep intuitive wisdom, and don't let anyone tell you you're not. So let's break down why you don't believe that. Let's work through it, through this book, and let me reconnect you to this higher self and go off and be aligned to that version of you.
It's beautiful and it's amazing. Can we get weird for a second?
We were just talking about higher self,
Yeah, exactly. And you know what's coming to my consciousness for the first time is like a connectivity to a greater thing, or a universe that, like, I don't know, cares for people, cares for each other, all of that. I'm curious, like, I'm curious about a lot of things, but do you have a spiritual practice? Like, what kind of routines keep people in this, like, more connected, trustful place versus like a societal, everyday moment grind kind of thing?
Yeah. You know, I stay in my spiritual practice throughout the day. I don't believe that if I tell you to go meditate for 20 minutes, this is going to click.
Really? Okay.
No,
Yeah.
I'm in dialogue constantly.
Yeah.
My spiritual practice is knowing that whatever created us is also us.
Yeah.
And remembering that in me. And that when I say higher self, it's not some better being. It's me in my dignity and in my worth. And that whatever created us wants us to experience being here because we're the only way to have tangible experience. That's why you take the human form. That's why our souls choose the human form. And so living is a divine experience because we are here to have tangible experiences. Now, I do drop in, I connect. You've seen me in sessions. I feel that I'm channeling information often.
Yep.
That for me is not something that I've built a ritual around.
Okay.
It's about recognition of when I'm connecting to that greater consciousness. It's like a plug, you know, okay, it's in. The more that, for me, I say it out loud, the stronger it gets.
Say it out loud.
But the more that I doubt it, or I think, oh, this is crazy to say, or I'm going to sit on a stage, or I'm going to write a book about it after 20 years in corporate America, the quieter it gets. Because trust and faith truly is how you build your relationship with the divine, with higher consciousness, whatever you want to call it. Believing that you're connected to something bigger, and you're part of something bigger, and you're here to experience life because that's what the consciousness wants.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we're in a moment in time where connecting to something bigger feels harder.
Yeah.
Connecting to trust and faith and love and like happy, thoughts for some is more challenging. And I know that you have a perspective that it's up to us to kind of honor ourselves so that other people can't exploit that a little bit. And I feel like that's so profound and actually, what do you call it? Like motivating. It's empowering a little bit. And I feel like it's hard to find empowerment, particularly right now necessarily. I'm curious, like, what are your clients talking to you about? And like, how do you, if they're stressed and if they feel like they're in crisis because of the state of the world, is your job getting harder maybe?
Yeah, I mean, make no mistake, we are in a crisis. We are in a crisis that's being triggered on purpose to put us into crisis. We are being fed fear. And when you are fearful, you feel powerless. And that's the point.
When you are fearful, you feel powerless. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the point is to feel disempowered so that things can go backward.
Yeah.
Because progress scares people. And so this is, to me, feels like the dying extinction breath of something that knows that its time is up.
Right? I feel that way too. Exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
And so we're meant to feel afraid so that we're quiet. We're meant to feel afraid so that we're confused. We're meant to feel afraid so that we don't trust what we're sensing. We're meant to feel afraid so that we don't trust each other. We're meant to fear each other, for sure. Yeah. Because in our collective is where we have power. So everyone is in that fear state that I'm speaking to. You're being inundated by it every day. That's the strategy. That's literally the strategy. So I think that the conversations are actually becoming more profound because when you remember that you don't have to believe that you're powerless, you don't have to hand your dignity over. You do have intuitive wisdom. You can look at that story and check in and be like, does this feel right? You can be told that this person next to you is dangerous and check in and be like, does that feel right? And you know the answer. And when you know the answer, you don't have to believe the things you're being told that are frightening. Yeah. Because the truth is not frightening. And that, for me, is exciting because I'm finally able to have those conversations with everyone. And it's time. I think that's why this is an awakening for people. I'm Persian. My family fled the revolution in Iran. This is not new to us. Yeah. We're not like watching this being like, oh, this could never happen. Of course it can happen. Yeah. So I think, I told you this when we were talking about the concept of joy and play. Yeah. I look at those women in Iran in the streets 2 years ago, taking off their scarves and dancing in the streets, saying joy is resistance. I'm not going to fear you. Because if I fear you, you take my power away.
I love joy as resistance. So, you know, I guess I see that as a bright spot. So you're talking to people, you're having deeper conversations, more revolutionary conversations with your clients, like.
Yeah, because think about the things you now have to think about that maybe, 10 years ago we thought everything was kosher. I don't know. I mean, I think this happens with certain people. This happens a lot with a lot of my white male leaders who were like, the world's great, right? And we're like, no. But now they're seeing that that's not true. So I think it's eye-opening for people. And it causes you to ask profound questions like, how did we get here? And what is my role in moving us out of this space?
This brings me to why I'm mad at you a little bit.
Yeah, you were mad at me before we got up here.
A little.
I didn't know if you
were
going to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much because like maybe there's a YouTube channel or something. But okay, so you call me on my bullshit quite a lot, and you will force me to fight more than is comfortable for me.
Yeah.
To speak up for myself, to advocate, to ask for the things to the humans 100 times over. That's like a little off topic, but I'm curious, like, what's that about?
Well, let's think about it. What does your higher self want?
Freedom, joy, respect, love.
And does your higher self like the energy of contraction and silence? So my job is to just always ask you, what would your higher self do? So it's not me you're mad at, by the way, it's your higher self. But your higher self wants you to be in your dignity. I tell people all the time, like, even when you're in a conversation, we've done this practice, where you notice that you're going to contract because of your conditioning or your fear. Your dignity lives in your spine. Your body's a beautiful reminder of your dignity. Trace your spine from the very base of your back, do it right now, all the way up through your neck, and now imagine an invisible string pulling your neck up.
Okay.
What does it feel like to sit this way? With your shoulders back.
Better.
And are you going to take any bullshit?
No.
Right. So I want you to be in the embodiment of this dignified self because that's your path to freedom. Yeah, it's not the people pleaser who says, and by the way, we all have this people pleaser, but who says, let me be quieter, more palatable. I don't want to make him uncomfortable. I don't want her to feel badly about what I'm saying. Yeah. Well, guess what? In that negotiation, you've lost your dignity. And that's not adding to our collective life force. That's draining our collective life force. If you're not in your life force, then you're not adding to the energy. You're trading it off. You're giving your life force over to that person, letting them be comfortable while you're in this contracted state.
Damn it.
Sorry.
Let's close out with your book. Can I buy it now?
It comes out March 11th. I think the very kind people at the Moss are going to send a pre-order link to everyone here via email.
Yes, love that.
March 11th.
Great. Okay, and so you're probably happy to get back to sunny California.
Yes and no. Yes and no. There's a little way that we can be disconnected out there.
Yeah.
And also everything was on fire recently.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Were you okay for that? Was that?
We were okay, but you can feel it. It's heartbreaking. I mean, people have lost everything, and California is a weird place right now because climate change is really, really, I mean, it's real for us everywhere, but it's really real for us there. I mean, I was looking at the fire zone map because I had convinced myself because we live near the ocean, we're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. And then you look at Malibu and you're like, oh, okay. So it's changing. People are leaving. A lot of my friends are leaving LA and moving back here.
To New York?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So it's an interesting place to be. But I enjoy the downshift that I get to do there.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And you feel like this is all connected, right? Like a fire in LA and all the other
crises.
That are happening around the world. Like,
Well, we keep ignoring what the earth is telling us.
I know. See, I really feel that too, though. And again, my husband, sorry, John Marcus, is mad at me because I keep trying to be like, damn, are we supposed to be vegetarians? And I love meat. I love food. But I'm just like, if the earth is trying to tell us something, like,
it's everything in moderation, and we are just trained towards excess, right? Like, we just want more and more and bigger and more and the bigger burger so I think that if we could just be living in moderation with what the land is trying to give us, then we wouldn't be draining it in this way. But we are trained to be entitled to take from it.
I feel that so much. I love you.
I love you.
And I feel like I wish we could hug like Jay.
I thought we were going to hold hands
the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for your support on my own journey. I cannot wait for your book to do the same thing that it did for me for many, many others. And the way you teach people to trust themselves and stand their ground, but in such a empowered, light way, really change. I mean, I know, you work with my whole team, you work with all my bosses and all of that. So you have been transformative to my life, and I know that you will continue to do that. I do feel like when you start to act in alignment and in your integrity, things start to work out, and you have taught me that, so I'm really glad.
And you really, really embody that. I'm so honored that you're someone that's a testament to this work, because you do the work, and this is not easy work. This is hard self-analysis and self-awareness, so you make it really easy.
Thanks, Mory.
And I'm excited to see what you're going to do next.
I love it.